Hello, everybody. This is Catholic Dad, episode number 156, Prayer in Public Schools. Now, for this, I just want to touch on the law and what the law says, the United States Constitution. And for this analysis, I'm going to reference Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, Amendment 1 and Amendment 10. And so, is there prayer allowed in public school districts? And, you know, the Warren Court and the big leftist courts of last century essentially determined that you're not allowed to have prayer in public schools. Well, let's break this down a little bit further and talk about federal overreach. So what does Amendment 1 of the Constitution state? The First Amendment of the Constitution, the first part of it says, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion or deny the free exercise thereof. Meaning, Congress can't say anything about religion. Essentially, it can't make a law saying that there's a state, a national religion, or they can't make a law stating you can't exercise your religion. So essentially, they can't tell you what to do with your religion, period. Now, and that makes sense, right? And then so you're allowed to freely exercise your religion without having state sponsorship. That's what the First Amendment of the Constitution essentially says. Now, what does Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution say? Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution are all the powers of Congress. What is Congress allowed to legislate upon? And so there's 17 enumerated powers within the Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. Among these are things like patent laws, coinage of money, weights and measures, rules of naturalization, armies, navies, regulating thereof, calling upon militia, post offices and post roads, you name it. It's in there for federal powers, and there's only 17 of them. And there is nowhere in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution that mentions a federal power to regulate education or fund education or do anything with education. So that's Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. Now let me reference Amendment 10 of the Constitution. Any power not listed as a power of Congress within the Constitution or denied to the states is a power of the states or the people respectively. Essentially saying, if it ain't in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, right, and it's not denied to the states or the people, then it's a right of the states or the people, meaning that education is not within Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, and therefore this is a state's authority, state's power, or people power. That's what Amendment 10 of the Constitution says. So let's talk about federal overreach now. Congress does not have the capacity to put a dime, legally speaking, in terms of the Constitution of the United States of America, into public education, meaning the Department of Education is actually unconstitutional. I wish somebody would rule upon that. But number one, if the Constitution doesn't allow Congress to fund education, and then it states that Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or free exercise thereof, and it states any power not delegated to that of the Congress through the Constitution is right of the states or the people, that means all educational pursuits are within the hands of the states or of the people, and Congress is not allowed to tell them what to do. That's what it means. And so Thomas Jefferson, he wrote the Declaration of Independence. He essentially said that every good Virginian should study the Bible and know the Bible within public school system. Now, Tommy J, right, he essentially says, he's one of the great founding fathers of the United States of America, perhaps one of the greatest civics thinkers in the history of the world, said that, people at the state level should study the Bible in public schools. And yet today we're in this Gordian knot, this pickle, this bargain with the devil, that because we accepted federal dollars, they're now telling us we are not allowed to have any religious thought or prayer or anything within our school systems, which is essentially the problem with federal overreach, that the federal government, because it threw a dollar into the playing field, the people, the usurpers of individual liberty and rights said, well, we gave you a dollar, and now we can tell you what to do, and therefore your children can't pray in schools. Now, let's think about this more on a practical level. We have a public school system, right, in America, and the one person, let's just talk about him as a person, Jesus Christ, the most influential person for our culture in the history of recorded man, or in recorded history, Jesus Christ. I mean, he is, right? He essentially, our history was founded upon the teachings of Christ. Our law, our university system, our justice systems, everything else was. And we're not allowed to mention them in our educational systems. Which, think about that: are we getting education or are we not? Like you could mention Peter the Great, right? He wasn't as quite influential, but you certainly can mention him. You can mention Charles Lemaine or Constantine, you name it. But you cannot mention the risen Lord and Savior, even though he was a historically accurate figure. So that tells you what the heck the problem with federal overreach is that you can't even teach history in your school systems because the federal government overregulated the heck out of it. And that's why, and that's partially the reason why the Founding Fathers wanted to keep the federal government out of the educational system. And so, and also, let's think about it in a practical portion here. Like, we're religious people, like people that call themselves religious and believe in God and, believe in his, the salvation, our own personal salvation, how we're striving to attain it, and how the glory of heaven is great, right? So we, essentially, if we believe that story, we're going to dedicate our entire lives to knowing, loving, and serving the Lord in this life, and being happy with him in the next. That's right out of the Baltimore Catechism. To know, love, and serve God in this life and be happy with him in the next. So if that is what the point of life is in our Catholic life, being religious, then you're going to send your kids off for half their waking hours every day, and they will be denied to do that very imperative, which is written in our catechism. That's a problem. That's a major problem. And so I think the federal government needs to get out of education entirely. The Department of Education needs to go away. They need somebody needs to actually look at it and go, this was never the intention of the law, and oh, by the way, the law doesn't even allow them to do it. And so somewhere along the line, there was a massive usurpation of power from the states to centralized to the federal government. And prayer in school, though not allowed today, if you actually look at the Constitution of the United States of America, there's no way you can make an argument it is not allowed. And then people will say, Jefferson wrote Separation of Church and State. Well, it was taken out of context and he penned it off to a friend, or I think it was Jefferson, but nonetheless, the laws are very clear, they're very specific. The federal government is not allowed in education, and it's also not allowed to tell you what to do with your prayer lives, and therefore it's left up to the states or the people, which are supposed to control their school districts, and therefore prayer is allowed in school. And so that's my logic for you, that's my reason. God bless you, pray the daily rosary, live a sacramental life, and be kind to each other. And by the way, share with your friends. I think this is starting to catch on a little bit more. I'm getting more hits. And so maybe we can catechize the world in some small way. And I'm not saying I'm the greatest catechetical teacher, whatever that word is, but maybe we can just help people out to think logically and reasonably about life itself. That's called natural law, people. God bless you and have a nice day. Bye.